All right, welcome in. It's episode 48 of Reimer on the Road. That is Ann. I am Scott. And episode 48 is all about Lake Tahoe, which sits on the California-Nevada border, and Great Basin National Park. So we look forward to sharing those two things with you. We are in phase 1 of 5 of the Mighty 5 national parks in Utah. As we record this, we're in Zion, which will be episode 49, and we can't wait to share that with you. And
you would know we're in Zion if you follow us on Instagram, Reimer on the Road, beta post. Check it out.
I've been telling you, follow Reimer on the Road on Instagram, and you would know all of this before the videos come out. Right. So before we get to episode 48, we always like to let you know where we're headed next, because you guys do a great job of sharing with us some tidbits, either on YouTube in the comments, on Facebook in the comments, or email when you can do any of the above, or on Instagram. You can reply on Instagram. Right. So, and where are we headed next so they can give us some feedback on?
So we are heading to the second of the Mighty 5 with Bryce Canyon, and then following that, we'll hit the third one, Capitol Reef National Park.
Can't wait to do both those. We've got family coming in on that trip. We've had friends with us in Zion. So
that's right.
Lots to get to in episode 49 and then eventually in episode 50 as we hit these Mighty 5. It's really, really awesome. So this particular episode, episode 48, is all about Lake Tahoe, Great Basin National Park. So let's get right to it. Roll the tape. So we had one really full day in Lake Tahoe, and what we decided to do was to take the Loop Road. I don't think it's officially called that in Tahoe, but it's basically a road that circles the entirety. And early in the road, it had some great overlooks where we pulled off. Emerald Bay was one of them that just absolutely, you have the snow-capped mountains in the background and the clear water in the foreground.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And you know, some of the state parks were closed, I think, on the California side. And so there were some areas that we probably could have been able to explore, but they were closed, so we couldn't get to this. An additional side trip with this loop road was to take a little bit of a detour off of it, and you can drive up to the infamous Donner Pass, where the Donner Party didn't make it to California and resorted to cannibalism and all that. I know you learned that in school, but this was a great little side trip up the mountain. You could see the old railroad tracks and tunnels that were up there, and had great views over the Donner Lake, which was below it. Yeah, no, it was a beautiful, easy side trip. And so on the way back from the Donner Pass back to Lake Tahoe, we went through a town called Truckee, and it was really a cute town. And all we did was drive through it, but if we had timed it better, it would have been a great place to stop for lunch, walk around, had a lot of shops. So, you know, I think in the end, I know we're still sort of talking about Lake Tahoe, but this is definitely an area I could see us going back to, because I think there's a lot more to explore we weren't able to get to.
You've got skiing you can do in Lake Tahoe. You've got plenty of water sports in the winter golf. That's going on. Casinos. As we drove around the other side, the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, hit a couple of overlooks there where we went down by the water, and then you end up in the state line, I think is the name of the town.
Yep.
So the casinos and all the stuff that Nevada brings to the table right there on Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, and lots of biking trails and such. So there's a ton to do in the area, and it is absolutely beautiful.
It, again, was an afterthought, not so much because we didn't think Lake Tahoe would be interesting. We didn't think we would be taking advantage of Lake Tahoe with snow on the ground because we're not big skiers.
Right.
As it turned out, the ski slopes were shutting down and the summer sports were beginning to crank up. So
we'll have to go back in warmer weather where we can enjoy it some more.
All right, today I want to share an incredible statistic, I think, about this trip. It's a useless statistic, but I think it's extremely interesting. You know, we've been on the road for 8 months, and we have spent an enormous amount of time in California. In fact, as I record this, since June the 15th, and again, this is our 8th month, just shy of 33% of the nights that we have spent on this trip have been in one state, California. When we finish this trip, when we get all the way done with it in May, and it'll be an 11-month trip, the total amount of nights spent in California will equate to 25% of the trip. So a fourth of the nights we've spent traveling the entire country has been in California. Now, there's a lot to be said for that. California is the third largest state in the United States behind Alaska and Texas. California has the most national parks of any state. They have 9. We visited 6 of the 9 while we were in California, and that's not even to take into account the great state parks and other things that California has, including their coastline, which we spend a lot of time on as well. So it really just shows you the diversity of California, how incredible California is, and I definitely think it's a place to explore for long periods of time. And I will say, this is 2026 when this is that we're taking this trip. We started in 2025 and we'll conclude in 2026. The energy prices in California were extraordinarily high. Just being blunt about that, I don't know all the reasons why that is the case, but it is certainly a difference in California than any other state we visited, including the border states to California and the Pacific Northwest, which is above California. So I hope that as I record this in 2026, 10 years from now or 5 years from now, if somebody's watching this, they go, gosh, I can't believe that California had high energy prices. It's one of the lowest in the state now. That would be awesome, because I think California and Californians are doing a huge disservice with those energy prices in really crippling some people from being able to take advantage of the beauty that California has to offer. So I hope all that gets cleared up quickly, but it is amazing to think that we could travel all of these states, do all of these national parks. We'll be over 30,000 miles on the road when this trip concludes, and yet the most nights spent were in California, and that equates to 1/4 of the entire trip. To me, maybe a useless stat, but I think an incredible one nonetheless.
Okay, Great Basin National Park is one of the most isolated national parks that we've come across, and we'll get to that a little bit later as well.
but it was a stopover and kind of on the way, or actually it was directly on the way from Tahoe to the Mighty Five.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, because of the timing of the year, it's a small park to begin with, but not everything was open.
Right. I mean, kind of things like we've run into before, where like the scenic drive is stopped at a certain point because there's snow on the ground. Now, I'm a little skeptical whether it was really snow on the ground or if it's just a government and they're like, we're always closed until April, no matter what, even though they had 70, 80 degree weather. I feel like we've hit a lot of these parks where I think some of the parks could have been open if they wanted to open them. So we were only able to go up, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles worth. Got to see a nice little overlook, a couple of those. And then they have some actual caves there too, but they were closed to actually, I think, refurbish and stuff like that. So that one wasn't necessarily closed because of the timing. It was just getting revamped.
So probably the two biggest things that we could have gotten out of that park we weren't able to do. But I will say that Great Basin National Park, from what we saw, wouldn't be something that you would necessarily just go to. You know, if you were just wanting to knock off a national park, maybe you would. But it is very easy to get to and spend a day or two if you're coming from Tahoe and coming into Utah. I mean, it's right on the way.
Even like not too far. Maybe it's like 3.5 hours from Salt Lake City as well. So I mean, it's a hike. Like you said, it's out there. There's nothing around it really, but it is a huge, even beyond the park. We were able to see more of the Great Basin without just being in the park.
Yeah, the Great Basin extends well beyond the park, and we actually drove through a good bit of it even before getting near the park. So it's a very unique place to visit for sure. All right, there you go. Episode 48 of Reimer on the Road, Lake Tahoe and Great Basin National Park. Let's begin with Lake Tahoe, which, to be honest, was kind of an afterthought to some degree, and I kind of regret that a little bit. But as we left Yosemite to get down to the Mighty Five of Utah, you can go one of two ways: the long way back through the valleys of California, and through Arizona and up to Utah, or you can go just a little bit north, hit Lake Tahoe, and then come down through Great Basin into Utah, which is what we chose to do. Yeah. The time of year we hit Tahoe could have been a disaster weather-wise. It could have been just overflowing with snow, but as it turned out, it was 75 degrees. 75 degrees.
There was snow on the ground. But yeah, I mean, it absolutely, even the route to get there could have been totally messed up if there had been snow. So we lucked out.
We didn't know, or I didn't know, I should say, I'm not going to speak for Ann, anything about the trek from Tahoe to Utah until we started it and realized, man, oh man, we were in the middle of nowhere. And it didn't take us long to figure out that, yes, we're correct. We're in the middle of nowhere, and it actually has a name, and that's called the Loneliest Road in America.
Yeah, the Loneliest Road. I think it was Highway 50. Yep. Loneliest Road in America, and we were on it for a long time. When we left Lake Tahoe and we got outside, not far outside, we crossed back over into Nevada. It wasn't long before we were out there and there was nothing, and I mean nothing. And beautiful scenery though. But you very rarely pass through a small town, or just maybe like one of those kind of small towns that you blink and you've passed through it type of town. So beautiful scenery, but a lot of just wide open spaces.
Yeah, we've been, as you know, if you've been following us all along this country, in Montana and the Dakotas, and we've seen some isolated areas, but I definitely think this was the most isolated area.
I think
when the road signs would say the next town is 80-something miles away, and
the next
literally,
service is 80-something miles away.
And nothing in between it but beautiful desert land. It's certainly something you need to plan for if you're going to drive this road. Make sure you're gassed up and all that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
All right, there you go. That's episode 48 of Reimer on the Road. Thanks so much for following along with us on this journey across the country. We greatly appreciate that. As Ann mentioned earlier, we are continuing with the Mighty Five. I know you've been excited about that for a long time.
Absolutely, yes. I've done Zion and Bryce Canyon before, so I was excited to share that with Scott, but have not done the other three. So yeah, I'm totally excited about these.
So stay tuned. In episode 49, you'll get to see Zion, and then from there, you'll get to see the rest of the Mighty Five as we go through the next couple of episodes. So for Ann and Leo, I am Scott. It's Reimer on the Road. Whether it's the Mighty Five or whatever it is that you want to do, just do it today.